Greetings and thanks for tuning in to another one of our training videos. My name is Ryan Wolf and I'm the president at Ability Ministry, and I'm so glad that you've joined me. Today we're going to talk about doing a church survey. Now you might think to yourself, like, why would it be necessary to do a church survey? In fact, I've heard this from a lot of people. A lot of people would come up to me and tell me they don't need to do a disability ministry at their church because they don't have anybody at their church that's affected by disability. In fact, I recently talked to a church that even said, they used to have some people that were affected by disability, but they've passed away and they haven't seen anybody, or they used to have some kids coming to their children's ministry. Things didn't go well and they're no longer there anymore. So therefore, there's no need for a disability ministry. I couldn't tell you that there couldn't be anything further from the truth. You see, this is a true statement. Just because you can't see a disability doesn't mean there's not a disability present. 80% of all disabilities cannot be seen with the naked eye. Let that sink in for a moment. 80% of all disabilities can't be seen just by looking at someone. Here's some recent statistics as well. The CDC recently came out with this statistic. 26% of all adults are personally affected by disability. So that means when a preacher is standing at the front of his stage preaching to his congregation, as he looks out on his congregation, better than 1 in 4 adults that he's looking at is living with some form of disability. Here's another thing to consider. Over 20% of our total population, 1 in 5, personally affected by disability. You can find out exactly how many people are affected by disability in your community by simply going to the government's Quick Facts Census website. You can plug in your county, you can plug in your city, and you can find out exactly how many people not only live in your county and city, but are personally affected by disability under the age of 65. You can also go to different Board of Education websites and see exactly how many students in public schools through K through 12 that are personally affected by disability. In fact, you can find out exactly what kind of disabilities those kids have. It's all public information. So for us as churches to think, oh, there's nobody in our congregation that's affected by disability, we don't need a disability ministry, it's almost a comical statement, but we hear it all the time. So we've developed this church survey that churches can use to find out exactly who in their congregation is affected by disability. You can find this on our resources page, and I'm going to walk through this survey with you here today and help you kind of identify some of those questions you should be asking. If you're going to create your own survey, you can always, of course, use our survey if you'd like. So the first thing that is on our church survey is doing assessment of the perception of your congregation about where you are at when it comes to engaging your disability community. You see, we've developed this process, this 5-step process. It's called the Pathway from Isolation to Embrace. It's essentially this. There's 5 steps on the pathway. Either people are isolated, that means they're in their community and not connected to the church at all. So you have your church population and you have your disability community completely separated and isolated. The next stage is the fact that there are people within your congregation that have disabilities, but they're judged negatively, or people aren't viewing them in the same way that God views them. Or the next stage, people are affected by disability, are in your congregation, and they're tolerated. They're no longer being judged negatively. They understand that they have disabilities, and maybe they have some awareness of what God believes about them, and they just kind of share space together. It isn't a negative situation. You just kind of coexist together without any real intentionality. The next part is the fact that both populations are integrated. It's no longer an us versus them mentality. People affected by disabilities are integrated into different aspects of the church body. And then the final stage is being embraced, right? It's one thing to share space together. It's one thing to be included, but it's a whole nother thing when you're missed when you're not there. You see, that's the difference between inclusion and belonging. When you're not there, people notice, and it feels empty or like there's something missing. The final stage is being embraced by Jesus through the local church, through the body of the church. So this is kind of a 5-step process that we've created. The first part of our church survey is having your congregation kind of understand that and checking off where you think your church is at, because it'll give you a good understanding of maybe where you need to be more intentional in moving. The next parts of the survey, I'll just kind of walk through with you one by one here, are different survey questions that we encourage you to ask. The first question would be, are any members of your family affected by disability? This is where someone can check yes or no and fill in the blanks. The next question would be, are any of your close friends affected by disability? Again, you can check yes or no and fill in the blanks. And then the follow-up to that is this: do your family members or friends affected by disability attend church regularly? Right? Because you have people that come to church with you, and then you know people that aren't attending church, and for a reason. The next question on the survey is, if one or more of your family members are children, do they attend church regularly, or do they attend a class? You see, one of the things that we see happening a lot in churches is this: you have a family unit that has a child that's affected by disability. A lot of times what happens is this: mom goes to church one week while dad stays home. The dad goes to church the next week while the mom stays home with the child affected by disability. And they're never truly able to be one as a family. So that's an important question to ask. The next question that we would encourage you to ask is, how could the church better support and bless your family and friends? You don't know unless you ask. And this is a great opportunity to ask people to find out how the church could be a blessing. This is a great way to figure out where is a good starting point for your disability ministry. Then another question would be this: what changes would make attending church easier for your family or friends? Maybe there's something that you've missed as a church leader when it comes to accessibility. Maybe it's that you don't have an adult changing table in your church facility. Maybe there's someone who comes or would like to attend church but can't because they have personal care needs, and there's no changing table that would work for them. So this is something that could be made aware to you that maybe you've never thought of. And there's many other issues that could be brought to your attention, again, if you're willing to ask the question. And finally, what other ministry options would benefit your family and friends? So not only are we addressing accessibility, we're addressing, future opportunities for ministry at your church. All of these things are great questions to ask. They help you uncover rocks that maybe you've not thought of, and help you maybe even get a starting point for your disability ministry. But these aren't the only questions that we want you to ask in your survey and the questions that are on our survey. The last thing that we have on our survey that we don't want you to forget are opportunities for involvement. Not only have you asked the questions of people, how could your church do a better job engaging people affected by disability that are either attending your church or are not attending your church, and for reasons, but you need to give them an opportunity to get involved. You see, some of your best volunteers, some of the best people that could help you be successful in engaging your disability community are sitting in your pews. And maybe they're just waiting to be asked. Maybe this is a specific ministry opportunity that they're passionate about, but they don't think is a reality for their church or for your church. They won't unless you ask them. So it's an important part that we end our survey with questions about how they could be involved. So here are some of the things that they could check off. They could say, I would like to be part of a leadership and planning team. Maybe they don't want to implement and work the ministry weekly, but they'd love to help you get it started and plan for it. Another checkbox could be, I would like to be a buddy for our children or student ministry. I would like to serve at respite events or big events, or I'm trained in special needs through medical, psychological, or other fields, and I'm interested in assisting with training and intakes. See, again, it might be that these are professionals that do it Monday through Friday that don't want to do it on Sundays, but they could help you in other capacities. Or I'm interested in serving wherever there is a need. You don't know unless you ask. And one of the greatest ways that you can collect information from your congregation is by doing a church survey. So feel free to use our church survey. Again, it's available on our resources page, or you can download it here as well. We hope that this is a valuable resource to you, and it helps you uncover some important facts that will help you be effective in reaching your disability community for Christ. Thanks for tuning in to another one of our training videos.